You've been sitting on that dream long enough, waiting for some magical green light to appear. You keep thinking there will be this perfect moment when all the stars line up, the timing is flawless, and everything just feels right. But what if that moment never comes? What if waiting for perfect timing is just a polite way of stalling? Every day you spend hesitating, the fire in your heart cools a little bit more. That idea that once burned so bright becomes just another thought you shelve in the back of your mind. Waiting has this sneaky way of making you comfortable with delay, as though not moving somehow feels safer than risking a step. But trust doesn't wait for perfect weather. It sails anyway. It doesn't demand guarantees. It works with what's in your hand. You've been given a dream not to analyze it forever, but to act on it. Trust means you take the first step even when the rest of the staircase is hidden in the dark. The people who move forward aren't braver or richer or more talented than you. They're just tired of waiting. They got tired of living life at the mercy of fear, and they started trusting that they were equipped enough to begin. That's the only difference between those who advance and those who remain stuck. Every minute you spend wondering if you're ready is a minute stolen from the life you could be building. Readiness is often a disguise for fear, and fear feeds off delay. Trust cuts the cord on delay and pushes you into the unknown. You don't need everything figured out to get started. You don't need all the answers, all the money, or all the connections. You just need the decision to move, and trust will build the bridge under your feet as you walk. Stop waiting for approval from people who don't even understand your vision. Stop waiting for things to get easier before you take the leap. Nothing gets easier until you move. Trust gets easier the more you do it. The clock is still ticking while you're hesitating. Opportunities are still moving while you're debating. The moment you decide to trust and take that first real step, momentum will carry you farther than waiting ever could. Fear is a master of disguise. It rarely shows up waving its arms, shouting that it's fear. Instead, it whispers, sounding so reasonable, so logical. It says, "Wait until you're more prepared," or "Maybe this isn't the right time." And because it sounds smart, you call it wisdom when it's really fear keeping you still. Logic has its place. Preparation matters. But when logic becomes a leash, it keeps you tied to the post of hesitation. There's a point where being cautious turns into being stuck. Trust breaks the leash. Trust doesn't ignore preparation, it simply refuses to worship it. You've probably had brilliant ideas that never made it past the thinking stage. Not because they weren't good ideas, but because fear dressed up as logic convinced you to hold them hostage until conditions were perfect. Conditions will never be perfect. There will always be something missing. The people who succeed are not the ones who eliminate fear before starting it. They are the ones who start while fear is screaming at them. They recognize fear's voice even when it tries to sound rational, and they move anyway. They know that courage doesn't feel comfortable. If you wait until you're not afraid, you'll be waiting forever. Fear never fully disappears. It just gets quieter when trust gets louder. Action turns fear's volume down. Trust silences the lies fear whispers in your mind. Fear tells you stories about what could go wrong, but trust tells you the truth about what could go right. Fear builds imaginary disasters. Trust builds real possibilities. Every time you act, you prove fear wrong, and fear loses its power over you. Fear will try to convince you that moving now is reckless, that staying still is smart. But staying still is the riskiest thing you can do because nothing changes there. Trust takes the risk and turns it into growth. You've got to stop letting fear wear a suit and call itself logic. Strip off the disguise, see it for what it is. Then trust yourself enough to move even while it's still standing in the room. Somewhere you started believing that you have to get it all right before you even begin, that you need to be perfect from the start. That lie has kept more dreams buried than failure ever has. Progress demands imperfection. Progress is messy, clumsy, and awkward at first. Trust means allowing yourself to be a beginner. It means accepting that you'll stumble, that you'll make mistakes, that you'll learn as you go. Nobody starts off polished. Very expert you admire began in uncertainty, fumbling through the unknown. If you wait until you feel completely ready, you'll never take the first step. Readiness isn't a prerequisite, it's a product of moving forward. You only start to feel ready after you've been willing to be imperfect. The first version of anything is usually rough. The first speech, the first business, the first book, the first attempt, it won't be flawless. But trust says, I'll start rough and I'll refine as I go. Waiting says, I'll be flawless first, and that keeps you frozen. Every skill you have now came from being bad at it before you got good at it. You didn't walk perfectly the first time you tried. You didn't speak perfectly the first time you talked. Progress has always been built on imperfection. When you trust, you give yourself permission to grow. You stop punishing yourself for not being perfect, and you start celebrating that you had the courage to begin. Courage counts more than perfection ever will. Perfection is the enemy of momentum. You can't move and polish at the same time. First you move, then you polish. Trust gets you moving. Waiting gets you stuck, trying to polish something you haven't even built yet. So go ahead and start messy. Start scared. Start unsure. But just start, because progress lives on the other side of imperfection, and trust is the only bridge that gets you there. The longer you sit still, the louder the doubts get. Doubt feeds on delay. Every hour you wait, doubt grows stronger, whispering all the reasons you're not enough. And before long, you start believing those whispers as if they were truth. But something amazing happens when you act, even in small ways. Action builds belief. When you see yourself doing the thing you were afraid of, it rewires your mind. You begin to think, maybe I really can do this. Belief doesn't show up at the starting line. It shows up on the track. It grows with every step you take. Confidence isn't something you're given. It's something you build brick by brick through action. You don't need to feel ready to begin. You need to begin so you can start feeling ready. Waiting for confidence before you act is like waiting for warmth before lighting the fire. The warmth comes after the spark. Even the tiniest step counts. Make the call, send the email, write the first page. Each action is a seed, and every seed planted grows into belief. Belief comes alive in motion, not in hesitation. Waiting leaves you sitting in your own doubts, rehearsing failure over and over in your mind. But action interrupts that pattern. It drowns out doubt with evidence that you are capable. You've been waiting for faith to magically appear inside you. But faith is born from movement. Trust ignites it. The moment you start walking, your belief in yourself starts catching up. Doubt is a shadow. It disappears the moment you step into the light of action. The longer you stand still, the bigger the shadow looks. But move, even trembling, and you'll watch it shrink behind you. That gift inside you was never meant to sit on a shelf collecting dust. It was designed to breathe, to stretch, to face resistance. Gifts don't come alive in safety. They come alive when you dare to risk. Risk is the soil where potential grows roots. Playing it safe might feel comfortable, but comfort can suffocate what you're meant to do. You can't wrap your purpose in bubble wrap and expect it to bloom. Risk cracks the shell open. Risk wakes up what's been sleeping inside you. You keep thinking risk is a sign you're being reckless, but it's actually proof you're alive. It means you're stretching beyond what you know, reaching into places that scare you because they matter to you. Risk isn't danger. Risk is growth dressed in uncertainty. No one who made an impact stayed in their safe zone. Every success story you admire is built on a pile of risks that didn't make sense to anyone else at the time. They trusted that even if it didn't work, they would still become stronger from the attempt. Your gift won't reach its full power until it's exposed to the wind. It has to be tested. It has to be tried. It has to be placed in situations where failure is possible, because only then can you see what it's capable of. Risk unlocks parts of you that comfort can't touch. When you trust and step out, something rises inside you that would have stayed hidden if you stayed sitting. It's like discovering new muscles only when you lift heavier weight. You don't grow by protecting your gift. You grow by putting it on the line and trusting it will carry you. Safety feels good, but it doesn't transform you. Risk does. Trust does. So let the gift breathe. Let it face the wind. Stop guarding it behind your fear of what might go wrong, and trust that even if it cracks, that crack might be where the light gets in. Comfort looks harmless, but it's deadly to purpose. It sneaks up on you, wrapping you in softness while quietly draining your drive. Comfort tells you to stay, to rest, to not push so hard. But if you listen too long, your calling goes silent. You can't stay comfortable and fulfill what you were created to do. Calling always lives just beyond comfort's border. If you stay in what's familiar, you'll never see what's possible. Trust makes you step off the edge into the unknown. Comfort will give you excuses dressed as reasons. It will tell you you've got time, that you're not falling behind, that there's no rush. But every day spent in comfort is a day stolen from the life you were meant to live. The longer you sit in comfort, the harder it becomes to leave. It builds routines around you, like walls, until even the idea of change feels threatening. Trust smashes those walls and forces you to move. Comfort is deceptive because it feels peaceful, but it's actually stagnant. Growth requires discomfort. Trust is uncomfortable because it stretches you, and stretching is proof you're alive. Your calling won't knock on your door while you're lying on the couch. It's out in the wild, waiting for you to come chase it. You have to get up, pack your excuses, and leave the comfort zone behind. Each story starts when someone got uncomfortable. They stopped doing what was safe. They stepped out trembling but trusting. They traded comfort for calling. Don't let comfort trick you into thinking you're okay just because you're not in pain. Not being in pain isn't the same as being fulfilled. Comfort numbs, calling ignites, and trust is the bridge between the two. You keep telling yourself you're not choosing yet, that you're just waiting. But waiting is a choice. Every delay is still a decision to stay where you are. And staying where you are is costing you more than you realize. We like to believe that not deciding buys us time, but what it really does is steal our time quietly. Life keeps moving while you stand still. Every moment you delay is momentum you lose. Waiting gives the illusion of safety, but it actually breeds regret. While you stall, other people with less experience but more trust are passing you by. They're moving, they're learning, they're growing, and you're still thinking about starting. There's never going to be a perfect window where all the chaos clears and the path looks easy. Life never pauses for you to catch your breath. Trust doesn't wait for calm seas. It sets sail while the waves are still crashing. You've got to recognize that delaying isn't neutral. It's expensive. It's costing you opportunities, growth, and the future version of yourself that can only show up if you move now. Stop telling yourself you're buying time by waiting. You're spending it. Every day of hesitation is time you can't get back. Trust stops the clock by stepping forward. Deciding doesn't mean having everything figured out. It means declaring, I'm going. The details can follow. Movement attracts clarity, but clarity never comes to those who stand still. You don't need perfect timing. You need decisive trust. Stop pretending delay is harmless. Call it what it is, a decision to stay small and choose differently. A closed door can feel like the end of the world when you've poured your heart into reaching for it. It slams shut and echoes through your chest, making you wonder if you were ever meant for this at all. But closed doors aren't rejection, they're redirection. You can't let one no erase your whole purpose. Closed doors don't mean you failed. They mean that particular way wasn't your path. Trust doesn't crumble at closed doors. It knocks again or finds a window or builds an entirely new door. Sometimes doors close because they are too small for the size of the dream inside you. Sometimes they close because they would have distracted you from something greater. Trust believes that if it closed, it wasn't meant to contain you. The hallway between doors is the hardest place to stand. It's silent, lonely, and uncertain. But it's also where you grow, where you develop the resilience you'll need for the next door that swings wide open. Waiting in the hallway leads to hopelessness. Trusting in the hallway builds grit. Every step you take there is shaping you for what's next. Closed doors are not life telling you to quit. They are life daring you to persist. Every successful person has a story of doors slammed in their face. The difference is they kept walking. Trust doesn't need an open door to move. It moves because it knows the right door will open along the way. Closed doors are just part of the map, not the destination. Don't sit in front of a closed door and call it the end. Wipe your tears, pick up your dream, and keep walking down the hallway until the right door swings open. You keep waiting for people to clap for you before you move, but some of them never will. Not because you're not worthy, but because your vision wasn't given to them. It was given to you. Waiting for validation will trap you. It turns your dream into a hostage, chained to other people's opinions. Some of the people you're waiting on for approval aren't even paying attention to you. They're busy living their own lives. Trust doesn't ask for permission slips. It doesn't wait for applause. It claps for itself and gets moving. The cheering section will catch up later. If they don't, that's fine too. If you make every move dependent on being liked, you'll never move at all. People's opinions shift like the wind. Trust stands firm in who you are, regardless of who notices. The most impactful steps you'll ever take will be taken alone, not because you want to be alone, but because you're willing to go first. Leaders walk alone before anyone follows. Approval feels good, but it's not fuel. It's decoration. You don't build a fire out of compliments. You build it out of conviction. Trust is conviction. Don't wait for someone else to call you ready. Call yourself ready. Don't wait for their support to prove you're enough. Prove it by showing up, even if they roll their eyes. Clap for yourself. Believe in your vision even if no one else sees it yet. The applause will come when they see what you built while they were busy doubting. Trust isn't always about giant leaps. Sometimes it's about small, steady steps that no one sees. Waiting makes you chase fireworks. Trust builds slow flames. You don't need to launch huge to be powerful. You just need to start. Small beginnings are the roots of massive change. Every towering tree began as an invisible seed. Consistency will take you where passion alone can't. Passion burns hot, then fades. Consistency stays when the feelings leave. Trust fuels consistency by believing small steps matter. Waiting tricks you into thinking small isn't enough, but small is where strength is built. Every repetition, every little act stacks into something unshakable. Overnight success is an illusion. What looks sudden is just the result of invisible faithfulness over time. Trust is quiet. Trust shows up. Trust builds brick by brick. Don't despise small starts. They are the foundation holding up the future. If you're faithful in small, bigger will come, but you can't skip the small if you want the big. Every great thing you see today started as something tiny that someone refused to quit on. Consistency will make your dream undeniable. Trust says, I'll keep showing up. Waiting says, I'll start when it's big enough. You get to choose which voice you listen to. If you don't bet on you, who will? You've been hoping someone will discover you, sponsor you, pick you, validate you, but trust doesn't wait to be chosen. Trust chooses itself. Waiting for rescue keeps you powerless. You hand your future to people who don't even know what's in your heart. You can't expect them to fight for what only you can see. Betting on yourself isn't arrogance, it's ownership. It says, "This is my life, and I'm responsible for it." That kind of trust attracts opportunities that waiting never will. Every person you admire made that decision at some point. They stopped hoping someone would notice and started showing people what they were capable of. You have to believe you're worth the risk. You have to be willing to invest in your own vision, to stake your effort, your time, your belief on what's inside you. Betting on yourself will scare you, but it will also wake you up. It will make you resourceful. It will make you rise to the occasion because you know no one's coming to save you. Trust doesn't wait for certainty. It walks out with faith that you're enough and you'll figure it out on the way. Choose yourself. Don't stand in line, hoping to be picked. Step out and prove you were the one all along. You can't keep measuring your progress against someone else's timeline and expect peace to live in your heart. The moment you start comparing, you rob yourself of the gratitude for where you are and the joy for where you're headed. Their chapter 20 is not supposed to look like your chapter 3. Everybody's timing is different because everybody's assignment is different. What God tailored for them is not what He tailored for you. When you scroll through social media and see someone buying a house, getting married, launching a business, or traveling the world, you don't see the nights they cried, the struggles they fought, or the doors that slammed in their faces. You're only seeing the highlight reel, not the behind the scenes. Stop envying someone else's harvest when you didn't witness their planting season. Your journey has a rhythm to it. And if you keep trying to dance to someone else's beat, you're going to miss the beauty of your own song. There is something powerful about owning where you are and embracing it fully. The longer you chase their success, the further you drift from your own purpose. The truth is, comparison creates confusion. It distracts you from hearing what God is trying to tell you about your path. You can't be focused on their blessings and hear instructions about your own. You've got to learn how to clap for others while staying committed to what's in your hands. You might not be where you want to be yet, but that doesn't mean you're behind. It just means your preparation season isn't over yet. The best things take time, and God doesn't rush masterpieces. He builds them carefully and with precision. Every detour you've taken has shaped you. Every delay has grown your character. Every closed door has redirected you towards something greater. If you abandon your race to chase someone else's pace, you'll never reach what was waiting at your finish line. So keep your eyes on your lane, your hands on your work, and your heart anchored in trust. You are not late. You are in process. The moment you stop comparing, you'll start appreciating the hidden blessings of your season. When you stop trying to be like them, you'll start becoming everything God created you to be, and that version of you is powerful beyond measure. Waiting is not wasted time unless you let it be. It's the classroom where life teaches you the deepest lessons you'll ever learn. Every season of waiting is sharpening you, developing you, and preparing you to handle what's coming. While you're frustrated about what hasn't shown up yet, God is focused on who you're becoming while you wait. When nothing seems to be moving, something is actually shifting in you. Waiting builds discipline, and discipline builds destiny. This season is not about punishment, it's about preparation. You're not being ignored, you're being trained. If you rush into what you're praying for without the character to sustain it, it will crush you instead of bless you. Waiting teaches patience, and patience gives you power. Power to stand, power to endure, power to last. The storm may delay the arrival, but it can't cancel the promise. You've got to change how you see waiting. Stop seeing it as a holding cell and start seeing it as a workshop. Every delay is refining you. Every silence is stretching your faith. Every no is building your resilience. You are not stuck. You are being strengthened. People think waiting is passive, but it's not. It's active trust. It's showing up every day, even when you don't see results. It's believing in wasi da as. That you can't see yet. It's putting in the work behind the scenes with no applause, knowing your time is coming. While you wait, stay faithful to what's in front of you. Serve with excellence. Love with intention. Grow in silence. Let your roots go deep, so when the breakthrough comes, you won't be shaken by the winds that follow it. Waiting seasons reveal who's serious and who's just curious. The ones who endure the waiting are the ones who are ready to carry the weight of their calling. If you can master waiting, you can handle anything, because waiting builds warriors, and warriors always win. Fear of failure has paralyzed more dreams than actual failure ever has. It convinces you not to try, and if you don't try, you never get to see what could have been. Failure is not final unless you quit. Every successful person you admire has a trail of failures behind them. It's how they learned what works and what doesn't. You've got to stop treating failure like it's a verdict when it's really a teacher. Every time you fail, you gain information, and that information makes you stronger. If you never fail, it means you're not pushing yourself far enough. Safe doesn't grow you. Fear whispers lies in your ear, telling you that you're not enough, that you don't have what it takes, that if you try and fall, everyone will laugh. But the truth is, people who laugh are usually the ones too afraid to leap themselves. Their opinions can't stop your destiny. When you fail, you discover new sides of your character. You find out how resilient you are, how creative you can be, and how much fight is inside you. Failure forces you to stretch, and stretching is what makes you great. Even if you fall flat, you're still ahead of the person who never moved. Forward is forward, no matter how messy it looks. Your progress won't always be pretty, but it's still progress. Stop aiming for perfection and start aiming for progress. Perfection is a trap, but progress is power. Take the leap and trust that even if you fall, you will rise wiser. Failure is just a page, not the whole book. Don't let one bad chapter convince you the story is over. The best stories have plot twists, and sometimes failure is just the setup for your comeback. You are more capable than you think, and the only thing standing between you and what you dream of is the fear you keep feeding. You are never going to feel fully ready for the big moments in your life. Readiness is an illusion. Courage is what bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. If you wait until you feel ready, you will wait forever. Greatness doesn't knock on your door when you feel qualified. It shows up in the middle of your uncertainty, daring you to trust anyway. Every major leap you see others take started with them shaking in their shoes, wondering if they were crazy to even try. You think they had it all figured out, but they didn't. They just decided to move, despite the fear. That's the difference between dreamers and doers. Doers act even when their knees are trembling. Stop overthinking every detail. Stop rehearsing every what if. Stop talking yourself out of what God already placed inside of you. Overthinking kills more dreams than failure ever could. You'll learn more by doing than you ever will by planning. Action creates clarity. The moment you step out, doors will begin to open that you couldn't see from where you were standing. Movement attracts miracles. There will never be a perfect moment, only the moment you decide to move. It might be messy, it might be scary, but it will be worth it. You've got to leap while the fear is still loud and trust that your wings will appear. Feeling unready doesn't mean you're not called, it means you're human. But calling always requires faith, and faith requires motion. You can't walk on water if you never step out of the boat. Step out trembling, step out unsure, step out messy, but step out. Delays can make you doubt if what you're praying for is even meant for you. You start wondering if maybe you heard wrong, maybe you dreamed too big, maybe it's just not going to happen. But just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Delay is not denial. God's timing is strategic. He's not withholding it, He's aligning it. There are things that need to shift in the atmosphere, people who need to be moved into place, resources that need to be gathered before your moment arrives. When you try to rush God's timing, you'll end up frustrated. It's like pulling a cake out of the oven too soon. It won't be ready and it won't hold together. Trust that what's being prepared for you will be worth the wait. Sometimes the delay is protecting you. If the blessing came too early, it could overwhelm you or crush you. The delay is giving you time to build the strength, wisdom, and character to sustain what's coming. While you're waiting, God is working. Just because you can't see movement doesn't mean there isn't any. Roots grow deep before fruit ever appears. The silence is not the absence of activity, it's the sound of preparation. Stop interpreting God's silence as His rejection. He hasn't forgotten you. He's setting the stage for your arrival. And when the curtain finally opens, you'll understand why the wait was necessary. Delays refine your perspective. They teach you how to be grateful, how to be patient, and how to steward what you're asking for. The blessing will mean more when you've had to grow into it. Hold your position. Don't walk away before your moment shows up. Faith is choosing to move forward even when you can't see how it will work out. Sight looks at the facts, but faith leans on the promise. Sight sees the obstacles, but faith sees the outcome. You will never step into the impossible if you keep waiting to see proof first. If you only move when everything makes sense, you will miss the miracles meant to stretch your life. Faith requires you to walk into unfamiliar territory, believing that the ground will appear beneath your feet. The enemy loves to use what you see to discourage what you believe. He'll point to your empty bank account, your lonely nights, your failures, your delays, and say, "See, it's not happening." But faith replies, "Just watch." You've got to learn how to silence the noise of what you see and turn up the volume of what God said. What He spoke over your life outweighs what you see in front of you. His word is more real than your current reality. Faith doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It means you keep moving despite it. It means you wake up every morning and choose to believe that something good is on its way, even when the evidence says otherwise. Every great story in history started with someone who walked by faith. They didn't know how it would all come together. They just knew they couldn't stay where they were. Faith is motion, and motion invites miracles. You can't wait for the path to light up from start to finish. You only need enough light for the next step. Take that step and then the next. The path will unfold as you walk. Faith will carry you places your eyes could never imagine, but only if you dare to trust more than you fear.